Hey everyone, Dave from the internet here. Welcome to Explore Industrial Automation with me on this rainy casual Thursday. This week we're going to talk about free and inexpensive resources to break into industrial automation. So on last week's video, we talked about how to break into industrial automation. Zach had mentioned Inductive University, IU, which is a really great resource, and it is a free resource, and that kind of got me down the path of what other great resources are there out there to help you guys break into industrial automation. Number one on this list, and number one on every list, coffee. So to start off, electricity is a really great thing to know if you want to get into industrial automation or if you just want to understand a little bit more about how the world works. A really fantastic resource for that, like most other things, is the internet. I'm guessing you guys have phones and or laptops, which are going to be super helpful. Google is a fantastic resource both while you're learning and while you want to make sure you're remembering things correctly in the field. Understand Ohm's law, understand series and parallel circuits, understand the basics, and that'll really help you move even further. For a lot of people, further are going to be kits such as these. I had some growing up when I was a kid to learn and play with electricity, and as I was going through school, these are a lot better. This is the Maker Uno Education or EDU kit, and it's got a breadboard. I mean, look at these connectors. They're absolutely pristine. You're not going to have to worry about twisting wire. It's got LEDs and resistors. A little board. Fantastic for prototyping and everything else, and especially when you're waiting to learn automation of all things. And the fantastic part about these is if you're a programmer, you can go ahead and program your code. If you're not a programmer, there's lots of free code repositories out there that you can copy and paste and build the hardware. Something that goes along with that is multimeter. Now this is an expensive Fluke multimeter that I purchased when I was making my money by troubleshooting things with multimeters, and this is not what I would suggest when starting out. Seriously, don't spend the money on a Fluke. They're absolutely fantastic, but there are going to be too many buttons for most people. Go ahead and spend 20 or 30 bucks, get an X-Tech. They're really inexpensive on Amazon. That's what I started with. You can go test AC, DC circuits. You can go try things on the house. You can go try things on the kit. You can go troubleshoot in the field. It's a completely viable resource out there. Outside of the hardware realm, we really get into the software, and a lot of that is going to be self-taught. So things like W3 Schools as well as Code Academy are absolutely fantastic resources to go ahead and teach yourself how to code, be it SQL or Java or Ruby on Rails or .NET or any of those things. Absolutely fantastic repositories. A lot of them are completely free that you can go in and teach yourself how to program. I'm going to tell you guys what I tell everyone. If you're going to teach yourself how to program, figure out what you want to program and then learn the skills to be able to program that. That has helped me a lot to be able to physically put together what I want to put together in the past, and that's what I would suggest for most people. Beyond that, and getting more into industrial automation specific things, Udemy has a bunch of fantastic courses. I've taken a couple specifically from Paul Lin, his PLC 1 and his PLC 3. The PLC 3 gets into HMIs. It has a whole package of software that you can kind of go through the lessons that he teaches to be able to learn how to program in ladder logic. There are also lots of good resources out there. Udemy as a whole has a bunch of really good resources that you can get relatively inexpensive with a whole bunch of that knowledge transfer to be able to go ahead and really break into industrial automation. On a side note, for me, realizing that ladder logic was based off of relays and timers, the physical relays and timers, was extremely helpful to be able to understand why people wrote ladder logic in the way that they did, and ladder logic isn't going away. Got us here in the first place is Inductive University is a completely free university put together by Inductive Automation on their Ignition platform. I would 100% recommend people going through to look at that just to understand like what Ignition is, even if you're not necessarily going to be programming on Ignition or are programming on Ignition in general. Having more of that knowledge for free is absolutely fantastic, and no one's going to see that you have completed Inductive University and say, oh, that's a negative. Everyone's going to see that and be like, oh, they're proactive. Even if we're not working on Ignition, this is a really good resource to have. And then we come to like other resources, videos, and blogs. Some integrators that do a really good job. I would be remiss if I don't talk about what we're doing at Corso. We're building a bunch of MES specific information because we found that there isn't a lot of MES information on the internet, and so we're trying to share what we've learned as part of that. Intellic Integration does a fantastic job in their video series. Walker and Zach do a great job on that. Sometimes Walker will post blogs, doesn't post super often. I would say that each one of his blog posts when they come out are completely worth the read in and of themselves. We talked about Zach, so Zach Scriven Media. Zach, you do a fantastic job both for yourself as well as for everyone else, all of your clients that you work for in the industry. It is a complete pleasure to watch and listen to all of that. If you are interested in like the Siemens ecosystem, DMC does a really good job, and you guys should check out what they're doing there. They are fairly prolific in their writings of the Siemens ecosystems, and I know that my colleagues and I always appreciate what they are pushing out. And then Sean over at the Automation blog does a really good job pushing out a whole bunch of information, both blogs and some videos, some guest posts on there, as well as he puts together courses, a lot of them in like the Factory Talk, Rockwell Automation, RS Logix ecosystems. Those are more expensive than some of the other options that we had talked about, so that's why I didn't specifically mention them when looking at that. Now, I am sure that I have missed other resources, and I apologize for everyone that I know that I've missed, but please drop below, like, who do you guys read online, you know, blogs, whose videos do you watch, what other information is being put out there in the industrial automation ecosystem that I should be reading, that other people should be reading. But yeah, if we get a good list, I will 100% make another of these. So Dave from the internet wishing you guys a happy, rainy, casual Thursday. I'm going to continue to drink my coffee and learn more stuff.